Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, or morning, or whenever you're watching this. My name is the inimitable Taildale Soul. I am here with the one and only, the replaceable Andre Holmes. Andre, how you doing?
Did you just call me replaceable?
I would never do such a thing.
You
And they
just
can't.
did.
Okay, well, you'll never know unless you watch this, which I know you won't.
But I'll remember it. You just called me replaceable. I'm relentless. Relentless. Relent.
Oh, sorry, I must have gotten the paperwork mixed up. Hold on.
I'm speaking to my legal team about this.
Okay. But before we get started, I want to actually give a bit of a disclaimer. This podcast is meant to be completely and totally a work of non-profit. It is not meant to in any way infringe on any copyrights, nor do we intend to make any profit from it. This is only for us to discuss our opinions on one of the best wrestling shows of the year, so our friends can hear them whenever they want to, and possibly poke fun and laugh at us. I won't mind either way.
Oh man, I have insecurity issues.
You'll be okay. You have
Yeah,
very thick skin.
that is. Wait a minute. Is that a racist joke?
Moving on. Before we get started, I wanted to kind of just introduce our history with New Japan Wrestling. I'm actually somewhat of a new fan myself. I got on right around the time of the first Kenny Omega and Okada match, so I've been following this feud since the beginning, technically. But I'm the kind of guy who goes back and watches all the tapes, who watches videos, who does research, so I know pretty much everything that New Japan has done since about when Nakamura left.
Mm.
Andre, though, tell the audience about your history with New Japan.
My time in with New Japan started with 2006 because before I was more of Noah Pro Wrestling and All Japan Pro Wrestling because of my favorite wrestler of all time, Kenta Kobashi. But 2006 is when I really started getting invested in it, and I was like, yeah, this is something that's going to become big in the future. And staring back to now, I was right.
Your favorite wrestler is Kenta Kobashi. I never knew that about you.
Yeah, I always love Kenta Kobashi. I watched his 9-hour DVD of all his greatest matches.
Have I told you who my favorite is?
Who?
It's Shawn Michaels after the return.
Oh, oh, so you're saying that him against The Undertaker is probably the greatest WWE match of all time?
You know, speaking of greatest matches of all time,
Oh, yep.
we're
Because
gonna move on to this card. Do you like that transition?
yep. Because
Before we get, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there, and I know a lot of people are wondering, and trust me, we're gonna get there. It's probably gonna take up most of the time of this whole thing. But before we get to that, do you have any general impressions about this show without going into detail about any one match? If you had to describe it to someone with as few spoilers as possible, how would you do it?
I would say that in this time where a certain company throwing shade has everyone on social media bashing and saying how boring it is, with people walking out of the arenas at the main events, this show has managed to prove that my passion for pro wrestling will always be strong because it is one of the few shows that made me jump out of my seat screaming around and nearly getting a noise complaint from one of my neighbors.
Well, I don't want to talk anything bad about any other companies. That would be Roman from the point, and Roman is bad. Remember, Roman is bad. No bad Roman.
That's why they died in the history.
Well,
Oh,
I was using roaming. I was just using it as an N. Anyway, we're not going to say anything about bad Roman. That's not what we're talking about. What we are talking about is one of the great shows of the year. That is my initial impression. This is one of the weird things. I have a very bad habit. When I'm watching wrestling, I will put it on in the background and I'll be playing computer and I'll have it on almost like a radio broadcast.
that is what I do sometimes when I don't like a show.
This is the first time I actually sat down and watched a show, just watched it play out in front of my own face, and I had no desire to get up and go to the bathroom. I had no desire to do anything. I was actually invested in almost every match, with one exception that we'll get to later. And throughout it, I was actually okay. So I'm gonna go. This isn't a spoiler, but one of the things about New Japan versus WWE that I really like is that New Japan does what wrestling used to do, in that it's not you don't always beat them with your finisher. You know what I mean? Sometimes a big move will totally win the match. It doesn't always come off of the Rainmaker or whatever, the One Winged Angel.
Yeah, yeah.
And so for just everything about the pacing, the storytelling, the near falls, you actually care about the near falls.
And sometimes you can just tell, like, sometimes you have those matches where you don't need to follow the promos. You can just look at them and you can tell what type of storyline it is. For example, you can tell like, oh, this is a disrespectful student versus a humbling teacher, or these two just don't like each other, or you can tell like, yeah, you can tell what type of storyline because they wanted to put the story in a match where it should be all along.
I will say this is that the announcers do an excellent job of kind of educating it. I don't know if this will continue as it goes on, but I think they're aware they have a new audience. So the English announcers are actually very good about telling you what the storyline of a match is. So even if you're not like you or me and Wikipedia every single wrestler on the roster, you still know, oh, this is why these people are mad. This is why this guy wants to fight that guy.
Right.
And before we go on, I will say that there has been some news since this has been announced. And if we have time, we will gladly go over it because there has been some New Japan news. If not, we'll record something else later this week. If this is popular, we'll see what happens. So, without further ado, this is the part where the spoiler warning comes in. If you have not seen this show, you're not familiar with the results, and you want to hear about it, my recommendation, go watch it. Find a way to watch it. Go get New Japan World. It's $10. It's about the same cost as WWE Network, and it is worth every penny. And just if you don't want to get spoiled, jump off now. Andre, anything to add?
I say, I think the only thing I will put money in is New Japan Pro Wrestling. That is the only thing worth of money right now.
If you're gonna watch a network, I am subscribed to both WWE Network and New Japan World, and I actually like New Japan World a little better right now. But this is, again, I don't want to come across as a commercial. This is going to be my honest opinion, and I do have some criticisms that we'll get to when we go into the matches more in depth. But as of this moment, the spoiler warning is officially off. You guys have been warned. So, let me first off start by saying, as just a general overview, that this was a very, very risk-taking show.
Mm-hmm.
That there were a lot of title changes. By my count, 5.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And 5 title changes in one night is really very strange for New Japan. I think it might be a record.
Yeah, because a lot of champions do be retaining, and it's like only rare we see a championship change in such high-level matches.
Well, it's a different culture, I think, is that unlike in WWE where they have like Money in the Bank run-ins and things, the champions tend to have very long reigns. They don't just suddenly announce, hey, you're going to defend your title tonight in the main event. The matches are set up, the champions are treated. And so, it's very rare to see so many titles change hands at once. But, there was only one title match that did not change hands, and we're going to now go into the matches one by one. And we'll start with what I think was a very sleeper match.
Oh yeah, this one.
This was match. Suzuki-gun with El Desperado and Yoshinobu Kanemaru defeating my boys Roppongi 3K, Sho and Yo. This broke my heart that they lost.
For the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championship, and I say, I really enjoyed this match.
I thought that this was an outstanding case of storytelling. I am not that big on Desperado as a wrestler yet, and this is only by a New Japan scale. I think he would do fine elsewhere. But I don't see that level, I don't see that spark in him, but he is very, very good with his character work.
Mm-hmm.
People are very high on Desperado. What do you think of him, though?
I think my attention shifted more to Sho and Yo.
Mm-hmm.
I think I can understand why they didn't win the Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships yet, because they're on that rise of reaching that championship level. Not saying that they deserve it.
Well, they've been champions twice already, but yeah.
Yeah, they didn't champion twice, but it's like, like how there's some wrestlers that's been like champions and they still haven't been like recognized, and that's like always a weird thing to me, you know.
So like it feels like the championship was meant to get them over.
Yeah.
Rather than they're over, so we give them a title as a reward.
Yeah.
I get what you're coming from. Well,
yeah,
did you watch the Best of the Super Juniors? I watched a lot of it.
I've seen a few things.
One of the things that really impressed me was just how good Sho and Yo were in that.
Hmm.
They had a lot of upsets, but of course, aside from the result, they just consistently put on some of the best matches every time they were in the ring. These guys, I think, are on their way up. I think they're the future of the division. I was a little surprised they didn't win here. I was convinced that this was the time to let the good guys come over the bad guys. And I was kind of worried, actually, when they didn't, because I was worried we were going to see a whole night of title retention.
Right.
How wrong can I be, right?
Oh, trust me, you're wrong all the time.
Um, but the basic story of this match, for people who didn't watch it, is that the Suzuki-gun is a stable that is known for interfering, for cheating, for using all sorts of underhanded, low-down tactics to
Right.
win the
To get
match
the
at any
job done.
cost.
To get the job done, no matter what. That's basically their motto. It's like as long as they get the results matter. It's not how you do it, just do it.
And so they won the titles from Roppongi 3K, and they've been defending them against another team. More on them later, Los Ingobernables de Japan. And
Hmm.
now they are finally giving Roppongi 3K their rematch, and they retained. So, this appears to be kind of a story going. So my question to you after this, because that's the story of the match, is that Roppongi does all the good guy spots, they get all the heat, but they can't quite pull it off because Suzuki-gun ends up cheating in the end.
Right.
Classic story, wonderful character work, but where does Roppongi 3K go from here?
Mm.
Because they
See,
can't go to the heavyweight division yet; it's way too early.
yeah.
But they also can't go to. They just lost the title shot. So either they're going to continue the feud, which is kind of getting stale. It's been a couple months. Or they just kind of bop around and do random tag matches, which I think they're almost too good for, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a weird state to be in.
Now the G1
Definitely.
is going to happen, so it could just be that they're going to not be on the radar for a while.
That's true. So this is like so. This was their biggest chance of becoming champions, and they got cheated out of the match again.
Um, I think the timing was right here for a title change if the feud is going to continue. The fact that there was not tells me that maybe they're going to put Roppongi 3K somewhere else for a while, which to me could be a shame because I think they're really good. They're probably my favorite tag team in New Japan right now, and I do not say that lightly, by the way. But my goodness, they have grown on me just immediately. And I think a lot of that is also due to Rocky Romero, who is a treasure.
Rocky Romero, I love him so much.
He does their theme song, and it's that kind of bad, good, terrible rap. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Mm. But very high flying action, a lot of spots. If you One thing about the Super Juniors, if you do not like spot fest matches, you might not like this. With that said, I would say that this was an extremely solid opener, a great title match, and it had me biting my nails right to the end.
Shout out to Roppongi 3K and Suzuki Gun. You guys did amazing. Tio knows that I am a fan of. I love fast-paced action wrestling.
Mm-hmm. You
He
very much are.
knows.
Your favorite
Yeah,
wrestler is I forgot his name, Kenta Kobashi. Sorry,
Kenta Kobashi, and
I
even though
blanked on the Japanese one. I was trying not to say the American one.
yeah, if those who has everything Kenta Kobashi in action, he might be a heavyweight, but boy does he move, and that's why I love companies such like PWG and like others who embrace like fast-paced action. That type of wrestling just gets me. It's like I can't blink, and I want to see like what's gonna do, what's gonna happen, what's gonna happen, what's gonna happen.
Yep. As a side note, I did not know that Roppongi 3K was in Chaos. That surprised me.
You didn't know?
No, there's so many like
Group?
nebulous groups in this. It's just like it's fine though.
Seems
Um,
like everyone has to be in a group when you go to New Japan Pro Wrestling, huh?
Kind of. Stables don't work over there like they do in America. I've been actually reading a whole article on the history of the stable, how it's less like evolution, where it's like we're the Four Horsemen, we win the titles and we hang out. Lij is kind of like that, but it's more like we're a faction, we're a part of this whole roster.
Yeah.
We're not a team, we're a faction, we're all friends. whereas a stable in America is usually we're a team. But moving
Hmm.
on, we can move on to Taguchi Japan, Juice Robinson, and David Finlay versus Chaos, Jay White, and Yoshihashi. And I know that you and me are going to get into an argument here because I am pretty high on Jay White right now.
My only question was why couldn't JY defend the United States Championship on Dominion?
My only guess here is actually, you know what? Put a pin in that because I'm going to talk about this in a minute.
Okay.
But I think that Jay White, I really mean this, is he's getting a push. And he is talented and he's character work, but he still feels a bit green, and I think that's the Switchblade character.
Yeah.
I think that he's still growing into his own character, if that makes any sense.
I agree with you. It's still new, but it's like it's growing. It's
But
growing
he is
fast.
able to do some moves and some stuff that just is fascinating to watch.
His last defense was against Hangman Page, right?
I believe no, it was Punishment Martinez, wasn't it?
Yeah, Punisher Martinez, Ring of Honor.
Yes, it was. But he's defended it against three people. It was Hangman Page, Punishment Martinez. Was there a third one, or am I imagining that?
Kenny Omega?
No, no, he won it from Kenny Omega.
Okay.
But yeah, that was an argument we had. I was happy that Jay White beat Kenny Omega. You were so upset.
I was pissed.
Man, you are a Kenny Omega fan to the end. I feel.
I am. Listen, if I could marry Kenny Omega, I would.
I know that feel, but not for Kenny Omega. We're going to argue about this later, and I can feel it already. But let's talk about this match. The big story here seemed to be that Yoshihashi was having trouble because he can't get a singles win. He's been just having a losing streak for whatever reason.
Right.
And the announcers were really playing up how Yoshihashi was worried that he didn't know what to do with himself. He's teaming with Jay White, but he's worried he'll cost him the match. And then Jay White is kind of frustrated because, as you know, Jay White is trying to sow the seeds of dissension with Chaos. Remember is that he had that argument with Okada where he's like, why shouldn't the stablemates fight each other? And Okada's like, that's not how it's done.
Right.
He's like, why not? So they were kind of playing up the idea that Jay White was not happy with Yoshihashi, but they were also, the other big story in this is that Juice Robinson believes he is next in line for a title shot because he has pinned Jay White before.
That's right. I remember Juice Robinson pinning Jay White.
And so, what do you think of the Juice Robinson character, real fast? People that don't know, what was his name in WWE? Tyler Rex? No.
No, I just watched a video with him with Solomon Crow.
I'll look it up. It was C.J. Parker.
C.J. Parker, right?
Great talent, actually. He's reinvented himself into this new character, this Juice Robinson, that is kind of like if. How would you describe it?
I would, to be honest, I'm not really a big fan of Juice Robinson character-wise.
Well, this is a very big character match to me because Robinson, he's a pretty good wrestler. He's pretty good, but he's after following Suzuki-gun versus Roppongi, he can't quite have that pace. He can do the flips and things, but he can't quite keep up with the junior heavyweights.
Yeah.
He really strikes me more as a character wrestler, how he gets people to cheer for him, or he likes to lead chants, or he does big moves and he makes noise.
Yeah, he's an entertainer. That's his style.
Exactly. And I remember the third person, by the way, they defended against was David Finlay because he was in the match too.
Oh, so Jay White was like, so these are like, one is a defense, the other is I need this title shot.
But it was a 7-minute match, pretty straightforward. And the story was that Juice wanted to get a victory over the U.S. champion so he could challenge for the belt. He does so. He beats him with Pump Friction, I believe is the name of his move.
I believe Pump Fiction, with Pump Fiction or Pulp Fiction? Pump Fiction?
I think it's Pump Fiction, but he pins him. He grabs the belt after the match and holds it up like he's the champion, even though there is no title change. And Jay White does that thing where he looks defeated. So obviously they're building up to Jay White versus Juice Robinson. It doesn't look like it's scheduled at this time, but it could be during the G1.
If I had to just, what would be a good part to put that championship match in? Probably at the G1 special.
I would think so in San Francisco because it's a U.S. belt, so you need to put it
Yeah,
on U.S. But
yeah. I think every G1 special should have the U.S. title because that's where the title was born.
but so Chaos loses again here. Jay White and Yoshihashi. Jay White takes the
So that's
pin to
two
Juice
matches they
Robinson,
lost in a row.
and we're gonna move on now to match number 3. Suzuki-gun. I know you like this guy. Minoru Suzuki and Zack Sabre Jr. versus
Hey.
Chaos, Tomohiro Ishii, and my favorite Toru Yano. I love
Oh,
Toru Yano. He's awesome.
I love Ishii. He's so nice. It's just that if I had to give him one wish, I'd just make sure I would just like lift his head up, give him a
I
face.
feel
And be
like there might have been some inspiration in Ishii when you were designing the Andre Holmes moveset.
How did you know?
Because he does stuff like he's like, headbutt contest, go.
You know what? I'm actually going to make a little side conversation with you.
Please.
How I made my moveset was a combination of Kenta Kobashi, Tyler Black, Austin Aries, uh, John Jones.
We're going to move on because we're going to be here a while. So,
Yeah.
pretty, again, I feel like I almost have to explain it for people who have not seen New Japan, but Minoru Suzuki is a hard-nosed veteran in every sense of the word. It's not just that he is old. He's old, tough, and crazy.
He is literally that guy you would rely on in a bar fight.
Kind
Get the
of,
job done.
yeah. Well, he's the kind of guy who would be like, all right, you and me, knife edge chop contest, go.
And you lose in the first 3 chops.
And well, no, and that's the thing is you can beat him up, but it never looks like it hurts him. And he's teaming with Zack Sabre Jr., who I always think is weird in Suzuki-gun, but Zack Sabre Jr. is a cruiserweight who has recently turned heavyweight, and he is a submission crazy person specialist. Probably the best submission specialist on the roster in just terms of pure technical wrestling.
Yeah,
It's him or one other person who we're going to get to. But
some of the moves, some of the submissions I've never seen before. So, like, I've never seen submissions done like him before. Like, most of his, he just transitions into it. And you're like, whoa.
But the big story in this one is that Suzuki and Ishii want to fight each other really badly.
Right, and I don't blame them.
And that's because Suzuki is this old, crazy person, possibly made out of adamantium. And Tomohiro Ishii is this golem made of concrete.
I was gonna say vibranium, but okay.
And they just want to keep punching each other until one of them breaks. Because screw that other guy, I'm the toughest. I love this. I love this because
Adamantium versus vibranium. Who wins?
I think they've established that vibranium is stronger, but
No. Adamantium is stronger.
we're skipping over the greatest guy in this match. I love Toru Yano. Toru Yano the Trickster. He is basically, if you've never seen him, Google him. He looks amazing. He looks like a comedian. I think he was a comedian at one point. But he completely and totally cheats as much as possible and still somehow remains a good guy.
He's Ric Flair, the Japanese Ric Flair.
One of his signature moves is that he removes the padding on the turnbuckle and hits his opponent with it. But so basically, the story with this one is that Yano is the. Go ahead.
Yeah, his finishing move is called a 634, which is a double low blow.
Well, I love Toru Yano. I really do. He's one of the ones where he grew on me. I don't think he's ever going to win a title, but I don't think he needs to. He's actually been champion with Ishii, but we're getting off track. Yeah. The main story here was that Suzuki and Ishii want to get into a fight with each other. Mm-hmm. And Yano is kind of the weak link here. So, basically, Suzuki and Zack Sabre Jr. team up and wear Ishii down, and Yano comes in and he tries to cheat, but Ishii has been worn down so much on the outside. Zack Sabre Jr. catches him. Yano tries to go for a low blow. Do you remember what happens?
What?
Yano goes for a low blow. Zack Sabre Jr. closes his legs, catches the low blow, twists it around into an arm lock, and makes
Oh
Yano
yeah,
tap
I saw.
out.
Hey man, sometimes.
That was amazing. He goes for the low blow, and he just catches it by closing his legs and twists him into an arm lock, and then he just, like, shrugs his shoulders. Because he's just doing it all with his
One
legs.
thing that I wanted to know is if Zach was wearing a cup or not. Because if he wasn't wearing a cup, he might have put on the best poker face. Because I would be like, I'm probably still gonna get this armbar in though.
I say you should email him and ask.
He probably email me back and be like, yeah, I was wearing a cup, but like it still hurt.
You gotta be honest, you know, that's one of the things where you don't even have to worry about losing your man card. That's just, that affects everyone. I like this match a lot more than I probably should have, but immediately after the match, Ishii just suddenly gets a second wind and begins beating the tar out of Suzuki as he's walking up the ramp. Do you remember this? And then they basically get into a fight, and they won't stop ringing the bell for like 5 minutes. And they end up brawling into the crowd and out up the ramp. And I assume that they then
annoying me. That bell was pissing me. It was very annoying.
Well, it's the old style bell. It doesn't have that ding. It's more like ding, ding, ding.
Ding, 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 ding.
But
yeah, I was like,
they did it like 50 times in like 5 minutes. But they just kept fighting and fighting and punching each other. And they ended up going over the railing, down around the ramp and out of the building. I assume they then kept fighting all the way into the bus. Then they kept fighting in the bus. The bus took them to the hotel. They kept fighting and fighting until they got up to the hotel room. Then when they were in bed, they fell asleep punching each other. Because that is how determined they were, my friend.
So do you think New Japan Pro Wrestling will book them in like a shoot fight?
Well, I think that something is coming here. I don't know what it is yet. But I will say that Suzuki versus Goto is going to be a match. And it could go to a double DQ, at which point they then would book in something like that. But New Japan is not that gimmicky. You very rarely see gimmick matches. Speaking of, let's go on to the next match, which is a gimmick match. A triple threat. And the reason I actually use that transition is because I want to point out to the individuals that New Japan has not used that many gimmick matches. It's very rare for a title to be defended at anything except a straight one-on-one. And that's every title. So there was a fatal four-way at Wrestle Kingdom for the junior heavyweight, but other than that, it's usually just one contender, one champion.
Right.
And so this was Michael Elgin, a slab of man,
Oh God.
versus Taichi, who is not that.
God.
I want Andre to describe Taichi because I feel like he's.
I hate Michael Elgin.
No, Taichi. Describe Taichi for me.
Taichi?
Yes.
See, let me just say I hate Michael Elgin. I hate him. I hate him.
You will have plenty of time to hate, but I want to hear Taichi now because you know you're going to make it funny.
If I had to describe Taichi, the way he looked, let me just start by how he looks.
Okay.
It's like if you had like a Japanese version of Matt Mercer with, I would say...
You've already lost me, but go on, because someone will get this. Who's listening?
Alright, okay, he's like a Japanese version of Matt Mercer with probably a 2009 Degrassi hairstyle.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. Or is that all? Okay, so if I had to describe Taichi in one word, that word would be anime.
Really?
He comes to the ring, he's dressed like a vampire, wearing a Phantom of the Opera mask, with a girl, and he's holding a microphone. And he sings his own entrance theme as he walks to the ring, which is a combination of organ music and opera. Then when he gets to the ring, he's wearing pants, but at some point during the match, he rips those pants off. This is the man known as Taichi.
You should probably start. I want his theme song to be Ave Maria.
And then we have the man, the myth, the legend, Hiroki Goto.
Yay.
The never openweight champion, defending his belt from Chaos, I believe. He is from Chaos. He's not defending it from Chaos.
Yeah.
And defending it against Michael Elgin, this big giant slab of man wearing a singlet, and Taichi, this very feminine, kind of androgynous, weird character. But you know what? as a heel, he's pretty good at it because he cheats. And the first thing that happens is that they like go ding ding ding, and Tai Chi just drops out of the ring. He's like, "You two, I don't care." And then,
I absolutely hate Michael Elgin.
why do you hate Michael Elgin? I want to hear now because you've
I
been
hate
patient.
Michael Elgin from Ring of Honor.
Can you be specific?
Okay. The reason why I hate Michael Elgin because one, he married my former favorite women's wrestler, Mischief.
Okay. Is she no longer
Two,
your favorite because she married Michael Elgin?
yes.
I keep saying Elgin. It's Elgin, but I'm going to keep mispronouncing it because that's the kind of guy I am.
What was the next thing I was gonna say? I he just doesn't appeal to me. Like he just doesn't.
I'm curious, though. Going into this, who did you think was going to walk out with the belt?
I thought the champion was gonna retain.
It's funny because I was actually picking Tai Chi. I thought that in the triple threat, the reason they made it a triple threat is so that he could so he could give it to Tai Chi without him pinning Goto. I was half right, because as you will remember, what ends up happening is that Tai Chi gets the ever-loving blank power bombed out of him by Michael Elgin after these guys basically beat the tar out of each other with as many power moves as possible. This is the equivalent of a Haas match, I think, because the style is very hard hitting, very big, very emphatic, but it was very, very good. I enjoyed it immensely because Tai Chi was there, and so you had him constantly. Basically, he was doing a Japanese equivalent of what The Miz does. You know what I mean? Where he kept on just running into the ring and interfering.
Yeah, being the coward heel.
But then when he was actually faced with anyone, he'd run out of the ring and wait for another opportunity. And it really worked because you wanted to see him get his comeuppance. Unfortunately, that comeuppance came at the hands of Elgin, who won the Never Openweight title. And once again, Chaos is losing.
Right, so Chaos lost 3 times in a row.
That's
now.
4 now.
4?
Roppongi 3K, Jay White and Yoshihashi, Tomohiro Ishii and Toru Yano, and Tai Chi. And Goto. That's 4 Chaos losses in a row.
Chaos, take an L. Take the L.
They're taking beatings, man. Which is, to be fair, they're mostly all champions going in, but... Or at least number 1 contenders. Anyway. And Suzuki-gun had an okay night, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Do you have anything to say about this besides the fact that it was a hard-hitting, clubbering match with some very big power moves? And I know we're not giving specific spots, but honestly, because the matches are very long, they feel longer than they are. This one was only 13 minutes, but there were a lot of good spots in it.
I hate Elgin.
I want to just give a brief overview of the matches. You just say you hate Elgin?
Yeah.
Well, he is the never openweight champion, although, spoiler warning, Michael Elgin actually lost it back to Goto this weekend in the Kazuna Road. So that's...
Screw you, Elgin.
Well, it's a 2-day reign, which is kind of surprising, but never has done that before. Remember when Evil won it? And he held it for like half an hour?
I hated Elgin. Now I remember. He beat Kenny Omega in the ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That was a random title change. But back to the card, because we are trying to keep it under an hour. Up next, I know you like this one. I know you like this match.
Yeah.
This is the IWGP Tag Team title match between the Young Bucks and Los Ingobernables de Japan, Sonata and Evil.
The Elite. The Elite.
Now, before we talk about the result, I have to say going in, I thought of all the matches on this card that this was a lock for the champions. The Young Bucks had the never 6-man belts with Skrull.
Mm-hmm.
And the Young Bucks had just gone up to the heavyweight division.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought the story that they were going to tell is that the Young Bucks aren't quite there yet, but they're close.
Well, Tio, I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but there is a reason why the Young Bucks are the greatest tag team in the world.
You know what? I'm not even going to argue because, as a matter of fact, this match was outstanding. This one, it was like a WWE match told on fast forward.
This match was basically the Young Bucks versus Los Ingobernables, and the Young Bucks wanted the belts
Hold
and
on,
they took
versus
it.
who?
I can't pronounce her name right. I don't know why.
Ingobernables.
Ingobernables. This is why I failed Spanish all through high school.
Es no problema, senor.
What did you just say about my mother?
Ay, 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 ay. Moving on. I liked the champions in this. I thought it was a lock. I was surprised to see them change hands here,
hmm
but I think I see why they're doing it, and I'm gonna again have to hold that off because, quite frankly, these two have been on a tear. Evil main evented a show against Okada last year, and Sonata just main evented against Okada for the world title.
hmm
I think they're pushing these guys, and good for them. But it's a shame that they had to lose the tag titles so quickly. Even though they've had them since Wrestle Kingdom, let's be honest here. But with that in mind, though, so the story of this match was that early on, I think it was Matt hurt his knee.
Right.
He blew it out. I forget how it was. Do you remember?
No, I
It was
don't
on some
remember.
spot where
I know he was selling the knee from when he had the
it's some
tag
spot
team
where he
match
blew out
versus
his knee, so he
Ingobernables.
was very limited in how many high flying moves he could do.
Facts and a super kick as well.
And the super kick to the point where they go for their finisher, which is the what's it called? Is it the Meltzer
Barbarian
driver?
Buck.
It
Oh,
basically one of it's the no Indie Taker. They go for the Indie Taker, which is one of them does a tombstone and the other one does a 450 to spike him.
yeah, that's the Meltzer driver. That's the Meltzer driver.
But he jumps on the top ropes to hit the slingshot and his knee gives out and he can't pull it off.
hmm
And so they were building this up the entire match, and it was that how do you they have one advantage over the Los Ingobernables because Los Ingobernables are bigger and badder, but they're faster. And so when he blows his knee out, it looks hopeless. And yet, in the end, despite all of this, they managed to hit that Indie Taker and win the tag team championships. I was shocked at this point because remember at this point in the night, that's two title changes in a row.
Right.
And as we mentioned, titles don't change that often in New Japan. So I would absolutely say that this one was a great match, great storytelling. I
Overall,
was genuinely surprised by the result. I can't say I was unhappy because
I
even though I
jumped
like
out of my
Los
seat tonight.
Ingobernables, yeah, this was the Young Bucks are the ones to beat them. I think. I was just surprised it happened this quickly.
I jumped out of my seat. I love the Young Bucks. I enjoyed this match. Fast-paced action, really nice storytelling. They sold moves and their own injuries. But the Meltzer driver did it.
I,
As a matter of fact,
I
I'm gonna
was
sing the song.
before you sing a song. I was actually very impressed by their selling. Um, I was. They had a much better match. I'm sorry to say it like that, but there was a very, very good match at Wrestle Kingdom with Roppongi 3K, where they were also selling the knee. And the Young Bucks, man, they're underrated in terms of their acting and selling. They can come across as a bit hammy, but I was genuinely wondering at some points during this match whether they were actually hurt. It was something about the way they handled that injury where I actually believed it. Now, while I look at this next match, go ahead and sing your song.
The elite, the the elite, the elite super kick party. Alright,
It sounds like you're just doing the New Day song.
no, it's not. Hold up a second. New Day rocks. Wait, New Day rocks. The elite. Wait, New Day. Son of a bitch.
Was it? I hope that's intentional, or else this was I've just ruined your life.
You just ruined my life.
I'm sorry. Moving on.
Oh,
We have
God.
the special guest attraction of the night. kind of a weird placement on this one. I figured it would be before the title matches,
Yeah.
but whatever. We have Rey Mysterio, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Jushin Liger versus Bullet Club, Cody, Hangman Page, and Marty Scurll. And because they bring in the special guest, that means they have to lose.
That
What
is
is
true.
this, WWE?
But then again, we will. I want you to hold on to that sentence. Just because they bring in a special guest, they have to lose. Hold on to that, because that's gonna be you're gonna be proven wrong later in the card.
Andre Holmes, are you acting like the New York Giants? Because I think you're being a spoiler.
Oh, you bitch.
I'm sorry.
Now I know how John Cena felt.
Married to Nikki Bella?
First of all, I would never get married to Nikki Bella. Second of all, it was during his promo CM Punk called the New York Yankees.
Oh, yeah. Well, the Giants are the opposite of the Yankees. What are we talking about? Oh, yeah, this match.
Yeah, right.
In case you can't tell, there's really not that much to talk about here. I am surprised. Rey Mysterio looks great. He is very good.
Yeah, he's in really great condition. Props for keeping up the health.
Strange ring gear. Very weird ring gear for Rey.
Hey, man. Booyaka. Booyaka. 619.
I don't know when he... Well, because he had like a mask, but then he had a face paint on his chin, so it looked like the mask was all around his face, but it wasn't.
Yeah, but remember when he did the Joker mask and face paint, so I'm pretty used to it by now.
But then he also had the... He had like a New Japan onesie with the sleeves cut off.
Yeah, that was weird.
You know who my favorite guy in this one, of course, is Tanahashi. He has the best hair in wrestling. For those who do not know, Hiroshi Tanahashi's gimmick is that he is the best.
Wait, hold up. It's like a best natural hair or extensions?
I choose that to your interpretation. But what you need to know about Hiroshi Tanahashi is that he is the best. That's his gimmick.
I thought Okada was the best.
Well, he stole it from Tanahashi.
Wow.
Tanahashi did it first. That was his gimmick. He is the best. He's the ace. He's the king.
I wouldn't say he stole it. I think Okada took it from Tanahashi.
I agree. I'm being funny. But Tanahashi did it first. And that's basically his gimmick, is that he's like the Japanese equivalent of a Hulk Hogan character. Mm-hmm. He's a good guy. He's a goof. He does air guitars, but he can still do... He's a high flyer, but his biggest selling point is the charisma, the performance, I think.
Right.
I absolutely like Tanahashi here, so of course he took the pinfall. and
Cody was the one that pinned him, right?
It was either Cody or Scurll. No, it was Cody.
It was Cody, because I remember that little smirk he gave in the corner afterwards.
Yeah, and basically the story here is a Bullet Club led by Cody Rhodes. Excuse me. Plus,
bless you.
Thank you. Plus Hangman Page and Marty Scurll. Marty Scurll is the villain. He rocks with an umbrella. He has a long beard.
His inspiration for the character is Penguin from Batman.
Absolutely, and his gimmick is that he's a bad guy, and he is known for deliberately trying to injure his opponents, especially breaking their fingers.
Snap.
Absolutely. And Hangman Page's gimmick is that he is a tough guy. I think he's a great performer. His gimmick needs a little to be desired, I won't lie.
And if you watch Being the Elite, his biggest issue is Joey Ryan's dick.
I'm not going to touch that.
Literally and figuratively speaking, folks.
You heard it here first. Andre Holmes wants to touch. Moving on.
You know what? Let's just talk about the match.
Hold on, let me check my records. Let's see.
What are you doing?
Alright. Good news. Up next, we had what on any other night would have been the match of the night.
This
match. Any other night, match of the night. Not even a question.
I loved this match, and I've never felt so... it's just one of these moments where you follow a wrestler from the beginning of his debut to winning a chance, to watching him grow into this lovable character that you just support all the way.
Genuine question, and I mean this. Do you think that Hiromu, with this victory, is on track to becoming the ace of the juniors?
Yes.
I don't think he's there yet. But right now, the ace is. I think it was a contest between Osprey and Kushida.
Hmm.
And now Hiromu has beaten both.
I think Hiromu has everything in the making to become the ace. The ace of spades.
Well, the ace of the juniors. For those who don't know, we keep saying ace. Ace, it means basically the best wrestler, the most important
Yeah.
one. But, so Hiromu versus Osprey. I will let you describe Osprey's character. I want to describe Hiromu.
Okay, so
Hiromu.
Will
Oh,
Osprey.
you go first.
So Will Osprey, he's basically from the UK, more Havering, London, England. What can I say about him? He's he's literally like a guy that was born to be against gravity. The
Hmm.
way he moves, the way he just his style, he is speed, agility, and groundbreaking innovation all in one. And he just has this sort of likable demeanor. Like he's very charismatic. He's comedic. He's funny. He smiles all the time. He's just like he's a good guy you want to have bring lunch. You have lunch with, but when he gets in the ring, you see this more determined, more I'm going to win, and I'm going to prove that I am the best there is of all time.
Okay, that's straightforward. I like it. And Hiromu Takahashi is the opposite of a straightforward character. Hiromu Takahashi, nicknamed the Time Bomb, his story is that he is a crazy man.
True.
And that is almost oversimplifying. Because when I think crazy, you think, oh, like Dean Ambrose, where he comes in and he just punches people. No, I mean carries around a stuffed cat to the ring and talks to it. Hiromu is not only crazy, but his gimmick is that his move set is that he does not care. I almost want to adapt that move set to Teo because it is that idea of his entire body as a weapon. His moves are flashy to a fault, and he hurts you even at the cost of his own safety. And he's impressive. I love it. He is one of the most impressive looking wrestlers. Every time I watch a match of his, every move he does, it looks good. He has that way of making you just keep your eyes glued on him for the entire match, you know? I
Hmm.
cannot sing his praises enough, and in this match, it was just a matter of what can we throw it into this thing. Every single move was a high flying, flipping back and forth, run across the entrance ramp, leap on the concrete, and hit you with a flying missile. It's almost impossible to describe because it is crazy. It's like watching two guys fight in a spaceship after they turn the gravity off.
Wow.
I'm singing the praises, but I really, really like this match. I called Hiromu. I was happy to be right. Hiromu wins, beats Osprey. A lot of people are thinking Osprey's actually going to be taking some time off. Not a surprise there, but I was still very glad because actually, Hiromu, who won the Super Juniors, it's actually kind of rare for the winner of the Super Juniors to then win the belt afterward.
It is. It really is.
Um, One of the weird things is that the winner of these tournaments, the G1 and the Super Juniors, doesn't mean that they win automatically. It's almost like the tournament itself is an elevation, so they don't bother. Trivia: did you know the winner of the G1 has never gone on to win the belt at Wrestle Kingdom?
Never.
Never. Since they started offering it as the prize.
Mm,
Since they started giving
wow.
out the contract to the winner has never won at Wrestle Kingdom.
That's crazy.
Well, look it up. The champion's always retained.
That is definitely crazy.
Well, we might have our first if we'll see what happens. But if you're going to watch any match here besides the obvious one, I recommend this one. I know it's tempting to watch the co-main. I think this outdid it. I think that this is a great example of cruiserweight storytelling and making a cruiserweight belt matter. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, Andre, in New Japan, cruiserweight doesn't just mean, oh, you're a small person. It means you are in this division, you're going to stay in this division, and you are not allowed to compete with other heavyweights for
Yeah,
like
it's
titles.
basically just like a weight limit division, but it's still treated as equal.
Right, and so this match is third from the top. It's above other titles. You would never see that in WWE, and that's what it is so fascinating to watch this. That belt feels valuable. And by the way, Chaos loses again. Will Ospreay. How many in a row is that?
What?
Chaos lost again. Will Ospreay
I think
lost.
that's the fifth time now.
That is 5 times in 7 matches that Chaos has lost. And they only have one more match that they have a Chaos guy in. Up next, we have Chris Jericho versus Tetsuya Naito. Andre, I have to ask, when I walked in, I'm going to guess you and me had the exact same thought, and that thought was there is no way that Chris Jericho is walking out with the Intercontinental title.
That was exactly my thought. I was saying like,
This
all
is
right,
going to be a
Jericho's
great
gonna make
match.
Naito look good. He's not gonna win, and then what in the hell?
A lot to cover here. First off, boy, New Japan Jericho has a potty mouth, doesn't he?
I love him.
He would. He swore up a storm in every one of those promos. It was kind of jarring to see, honestly.
But I love it still. You don't see me complaining.
With that said, after we are done with Jericho, we then move on to more Jericho because he comes out dressed like Alice Cooper. He's got eye makeup on, and he looks. It's like all the way down from his eyes to his cheeks, like black teardrops.
Mm-hmm.
He's got like a weird scarf on. It's bizarre. But, not to be outdone, out comes Naito, dressed like anime. Not a specific character, he's dressed like anime. He's got on this perfect, clean white suit. He's got on a cape, he's got on like a Kamen Rider mask. He comes down to the ring, he's pomp and circumstancing, he's like, look at me, look at how awesome I am. He slowly gets in the ring, he takes his cape off, takes his jacket off, and Jericho runs across the ring and starts beating the tar out of him before he even gets his clothes off.
Exactly.
He is tearing into him. He beats him into the ring, throws him out of the ring, picks him up, and power bombs him through a table. And I don't mean the kind of table you get at Costco that is like plywood. I mean an actual wooden table. He puts a smackdown on Tetsuya Naito to the point where Naito is bleeding onto Jericho before the bell even rings. I was just completely caught off guard by this.
You want to know something funny? Is that when on the build-up, when the fan quote unquote attacked the Naito, I actually believed it was a real fan. I never expected Jericho to be it.
If I may do a slight tangent, though, if I may just say, right now, Tetsuya Naito has my favorite theme song in New Japan.
I was the Okada for me.
Yeah, it's my second favorite, but that's why I was into the music, I was jamming, and then suddenly,
I was like, oh shit! Why is the security stopping? What's going on? Next thing I see Jericho, I'm like, oh.
And we have to emphasize, guys, this does not happen in New Japan. It is not common for title matches to begin like with the heel attacking the babyface, putting him through a table before the bell rings. This was bizarre. The most heelish heel in the world doesn't do this. And so yeah, the story was Naito trying to find his way back from this horrible beating that Jericho put on him. And he does. Eventually he manages to get his ring gear on. He throws off all the extra clothes. They're fighting and they're fighting and they're fighting. At one point, Naito had this gash or something in his eye. Did you see that?
Yeah.
His eye was bleeding. But very brutal, hard-hitting match. I wonder if Jericho did it that way, just like with the Kenny Omega match, because he knew he would not be able to do all the flips and things that people were expecting. Mm-hmm. Jericho is athletic, but he's also kind of old. With that said, his character work is outstanding. This was hard-hitting from the beginning. I was like, well, Naito's going to win, obviously, because that's what we're all thinking. Jericho's not going to win the New Japan title. That would make no sense. He's not under contract. So through the whole thing, it's like from the outset, you're like, maybe Naito will lose. But then Naito starts coming back, and you're like, oh, okay, this is where he gets his heat back. But then Jericho cheats, and he gets a hold again. It was brutal. I would describe this match as an emotional roller coaster.
Honestly, Jericho brought it. For someone who's like 50 years old, he can move still. He hasn't lost it. Anyhow.
And I gotta say, the crowd immediately, Jericho, despicable heel, booing him. They wanted Naito to come back and win. This was, even though this was a beatdown, solid babyface making performance for Naito, I think.
I loved it.
I think that the result of this is that Naito becomes an uber babyface because Jericho became such an uber heel. By breaking all of these conventions, by doing all of this stuff that you don't normally see in a New Japan title match. But the end result, yeah, Chris Jericho is your new New Japan Intercontinental title. What is a weird sentence to say out loud?
And that's a result no one ever saw coming. And that was legit. I legit had my jaw dropped all the way to China. Like, I never expected that.
He beat him with a code breaker, right? Because Naito hits the Destino and Jericho kicks out and he goes for it again, but then he gets a low blow. Code breaker, right?
Yeah, it was a code breaker.
Jericho, I always forget Jericho has that. Because the Walls of Jericho never works. It's a great move, but it never works. When was the last time you remember someone tapping out to the Walls of Jericho?
Oh. Probably back in WWF.
No, I could think of one, which was Neville tapping out on the Raw episode that Kevin Owens won the Universal title.
Oh, right.
This was back before Neville was Neville. King Neville.
King Neville.
Boy, I sounded like such a nerd. I was able to pull that out of my head just like that, but I was at that Raw Live. That's why I remember it. And he caught him with the Lion Tamer. But anyway. No, the Walls of Jericho never works. I don't know why he keeps using it as a move, because every single time they get to the ropes. I love you, Jericho, but you need a new finisher. The only time before that I remember someone tapping out, and this is just me remembering, I'm sure it happened, was when Kevin Nash tapped out to it on to get a hair versus hair match, because Kevin Nash was going to be in the Punisher. Anyway, I've been putting it off because I know you want to talk about it. And once we start talking about it, this will be the last thing we talk about because we're going to talk about it for 20 minutes. We move on finally to our main event. Kazuchika Okada versus Kenny Omega, and this almost just deserves backstory. Andre, could you do me a favor and tell our listeners, those who are remaining, about Kazuchika Okada? Andre? Andre has disappeared momentarily, so I'm going to tell you about Kazuchika Okada. Okada is the greatest wrestler in New Japan. I don't mean that in, like, this is my opinion, I mean this is his gimmick. His gimmick is that he is the greatest wrestler. I would say that Kazuchika Okada's... He has gotten a lot of 5-star matches, and then he moved on to 6-star matches. He's just continually gotten match after match that was more and more stars. He is the definition of a wrestler's wrestler. He has been a champion for as many title defenses as you can imagine. Oh, here comes Andre. You dropped the call. You okay, man? I can't hear you, Andre. I was telling the fans about Kazuchika Okada. He has had 13 title defenses, which is a record. He's been champion for over 700 days. And during those 700 days, he has feuded with Kenny Omega. And their story behind their feud is every time they fight, they have the greatest match of all time. I'm not hearing anything from you, Andre. Could you speak up a little bit? Hold on. We have a bit of technical difficulties, folks. In the meantime, I will continue talking about and say that Kenny Omega is a Gaijin champion. That means he is an American. That means that he has... Oh. Testing.
There we go.
There we go. Holy cow. Okay, so actually I gotta let you tell us about Omega, because I just told about Okada.
Yeah, sorry guys, I got triggered by Omega in my spirits because Tia was talking about Okada, and I was about to turn on him by speaking of Okada.
Okada is Mr. 5-star. I think he has the most of all time.
He probably is.
But
All right, so let me tell you about my Omega, Kenny Omega, the cleaner, the elite, the golden lover. Omega is a former IWGP Intercontinental Champion. He is a former IWGP, I think, Tag Team Champion, a Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champion as well. He is the inaugural IWGP United States Heavyweight Champion. So, Kenny Omega, he betrayed AJ Styles, becoming the new leader of Bullet Club, and then down the road he won the G1 Climax. So everyone was like, "Oh, we about to see Kenny Omega become Canadian heavyweight champion." So he's like saying, "This is his time. This is his moment." We start seeing the rise of Kenny Omega in the main event scene, and that's when Wrestle Kingdom 6 was it?
Wrestle Kingdom 6? No.
No, Wrestle Kingdom, my bad.
You're thinking 6-star.
Yeah, Wrestle Kingdom 13 or 12.
I believe it's 11 where they fight the first time. You can Google it if you want, because Okada was 12. Naito was 12.
Yeah, it was Wrestle Kingdom 11 then.
Anyway, so what happens at Wrestle Kingdom 11?
They put on the 6-star match of a lifetime, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And after so many V-triggers, so many Rainmakers.
The Rainmaker, by the way, if you haven't seen it, is just a short arm clothesline.
It's a ripcord short arm clothesline.
Yes, but still, it's not that complicated of a move. As opposed to the One-Winged Angel, which takes like 30 seconds to set up.
So,
Kenny, I love you, but you gotta get a finisher that is able to get hit out of nowhere.
Hey man, that's why the One-Winged Angel is so protected.
But back to the task at hand, which was that we're talking about. So we have had 3 matches before this. The first one at Wrestle Kingdom, which is the equivalent of WrestleMania. That was a 6-star match. They had a second one at Dominion. This is the important one. This was a 6.5-star match. This is where they fought each other for 60 minutes straight. And then right as he hit the Rainmaker on Kenny Omega, the time ran out. Then they had a third one in the G1 Climax where Kenny won with the One-Winged Angel after about 15 minutes, I think.
Yep.
So the story here with this match is that Okada had just broken the record, and he decided to challenge Kenny Omega because last year at Dominion, they had basically, he wants to prove that he can do it. And so he wanted to challenge Kenny Omega with no time limits, and then Kenny says, "I'll do you one better, 2 out of 3 falls." So this match, the story was, can Kenny, after all this time, Okada's been champion for 700 days, he's beaten, or rather retained against Kenny 3 times. Can Kenny finally topple the mountain? Okay, I said 3 times, he's retained twice because the third one wasn't a title match. But back to the point. This was probably one of the most anticipated matches in years, I think. This
probably, yeah.
Everyone in the world wanted to see this. Andre, would you say it lived up to the hype?
It was better than the hype.
That's a bold claim.
It was better than the hype. Because the first match we saw Kenny Omega going to the limits of Okada, but Okada wins. The second match was Kenny Omega was like fingertips away from winning. The third match was Kenny Omega can beat him in an untitled match. And now this match shows that Kenny Omega has finally done it after coming up close so many times.
My favorite moment in the feud is when Okada goes for the Rainmaker and Kenny just collapses.
Right?
And that's the basic story of this feud, is that every time they fight, they have the best match ever. And so they're like, I have to prove that I can beat this guy. Both of them are. And this was going to prove it once and for all. So.
And then, after there had to be a winner.
There had to be a winner. No time limits. Best of 3.
And I will just say that
going in, who did you expect to win going in? Be honest.
I really expected Kenny Omega to win.
I thought that this was his time. I did not see a scenario that would benefit them by having Okada hold it. until Wrestle Kingdom, there seemed to be no point in putting it off at this point.
Yeah.
He just beat Tanahashi's record. He's been champion for 700 days. They need to pull the trigger before people just get bored. And I was with you. I thought Kenny was going to win. So how shocked were you when Okada got fall number 1?
I was like, no.
Did he get it with a Rainmaker? I forget. It
was a Rainmaker.
It was like a 90-minute match, right? It felt
It
like
was a Rainmaker for.
No, it was over an hour. It's 1 hour and 4 minutes. So.
Yeah, it was a Rainmaker for real. But Kenny Omega, as soon as he hit that one-winged angel, I'm like, yes!
Were both falls one-winged angels?
I think one was a V-trigger.
One was a V-trigger, okay.
One was a rain trigger, I believe.
This match, it's almost impossible to describe. First off, I say watch it, number 1, because these guys are masters of storytelling. It's an hour-long match. It feels like half an hour. The pace is incredible. Every near fall gets you at the moment. They don't do finisher spam. They don't kick out of finishers very often. I think Okada kicked out of the one-winged angel once.
No, he's never kicked out of the one-winged angel.
I could have sworn he kicked out of it once in this match, but I might have been remembering it wrong. The main thing is it's an hour-long match. There's a lot of details. Is that it is such a good match because they have spent so long telling this story.
Right.
That Kenny Omega has been trying for over a year now to beat Okada, and he finally does it. He does it 2 out of 3. No questions. No excuses. Kenny Omega is finally your IWGP Heavyweight Champion. With that said, they had to tack on a teaser because after the match, guess who comes down the ramp?
Evil.
Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes comes down the ramp. Oh, I forgot to mention that. We'll come back to that in a second. So they have actually set up for the main event at, I believe, the G1 Climax in San Francisco, that Kenny Omega will defend the world title against Cody Rhodes in his first title defense.
And he will not lose to Cody, I guarantee that.
I was kind of surprised by this. It makes sense that Cody would be his one, but I don't know. It seems like it's a bit too quick. But now we have a unique problem. And this is kind of a problem that's a weird problem to have. Is that Kenny Omega is new blood, right?
Yeah.
But because Kenny Omega has beaten everyone else to reach this point, like literally, he's beaten everyone else. Who do they have besides Okada that you can present as a legitimate threat to Kenny? I think it's a great move. I think Kenny is the right man to have the belt. I think the right man went over. But I'm curious how they follow this. Because Cody is fine, because they've had that rivalry, but after that, I'm looking up and down this card, and I'm like, I don't know who they have as a backup plan.
That's a good question. Like, who would be, besides Okada, who is finally beaten, who else can be the next legitimate threat to Kenny Omega?
Well, the first thought is Naito. I forgot about Naito.
Naito's one.
But
Tanahashi,
the story has been that he's starting to get old and broken down, but I could see it, except he took the pinfall against Cody.
True.
Yeah, there's enough, but I almost do not want to see Kenny versus Okada's last 5 defenses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to see new blood. All right, so here's my question to you. All right. We're going to do a different video because we're just a little over an hour now. But we're going to do a different video where we go over all of the members of the G1 Climax. Out of the G1 Climax, who would you want to see challenge at Wrestle Kingdom? Do you want the list?
Let me look up. Yes, give me the list.
Okay, hold on a second. Copy. Paste. This is what you get, folks. Great technical aspects. There you go. It's Michael Elgin. What are you going to do if he wins it?
I will kill New Japan Pro Wrestling with all my heart.
Ooh, Jay White. That would be fun.
That would be good. That would be good. Because Jay White has beaten, that would be a good choice.
But for Wrestle Kingdom, that's going to be a big, big question. Bad luck, Fale.
Alright, let me look.
Okay. Out of the current ones, it's hard to pick against Naito. Maybe Oh, I know who it is.
Who?
I know who's going to win the G1 Climax.
Hangman Page?
Nope, I'm calling it now.
Sonata?
Kota Ibushi.
Kota Ibushi?
Because then it's Kota
Oh!
There it is! I heard the connection light up in your head to turn on the light bulb.
Oh!
If they do that, Geto is officially my favorite booker.
Kota Ibushi becoming G1.
Oh my goodness, I love the comments.
Oh!
Tama Tonga wins everything. That's the comments. Oh man. That's the match to make, I think.
Kota Ibushi, though?
Well, of course, I'm rooting for Toru Yano. I love the picture of Toru Yano on there. We're going to talk about this in more depth, but if this is popular, we will go over every member of the G1 Climax and whether we want them to win. With that said, look at the picture of Toru Yano in there. He looks surprised to be there himself.
Kota Ibushi, though.
We're going to talk about this later. So, that was Dominion. We both recommended 5 title changes. It's just such a crazy, crazy show. I absolutely recommend, if you are interested in New Japan, this is a great show to start with. It has English announcers. They explain everything very well. Great production value, great match, great wrestling, great show. I would say it easily is show of the year, probably better than Wrestle Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
Andre, anything to add before we wrap up?
I say Dominion really, really, really restored my faith in pro wrestling.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that assertion. Like I said, it was one of the first times I didn't have wrestling on in the background when I actually just sat down and watched the show. And it was not easy because it was like 3 in the morning. But I watched this live because I couldn't turn off the TV.
Mm-hmm.
On that note, though, we are going to wrap up. Guys, this has been Teo Del Sol and Andre Holmes talking about Dominion. If you like this, we'll do another one. Give us a request, we'll do a show. If you want to hear us angry, make Andre talk about Money in the Bank, because he was... Ooh. Hopefully, though, you guys want to hear about the G1 or anything. We'd be happy to record it. On that note, I have been Teo Del Sol. And
I'm Andre Holmes.
There you
Relentless go. Andre Holmes, not replaceable.
Not replaceable. He is the relentless Andre Holmes, and we would like to thank you for listening. On that
Good night.
Good night. Good luck. Be safe.